this is what I live for, and I will fight. And so ever since that moment, every day, I continue to fight. I continue to fight. I continue to fight on behalf of everyone else that's also in my life, and again, anyone else who I've not met in my life, and anyone else who's gone through something, who's gone through pain, who I know has an inner power inside of them who can be resilient. That is why I am here today.
Hello everyone, this is Francis from Reawaken Resilience, and I'm so happy to have my brother from another mother, Jason Flores. Man, it's such a pleasure. I'm excited about this interview. I had a couple bloopers before. You know, we can use it for a high vibe report later on. You know, right now as it is, if there's any mistakes, we're just gonna keep it on rolling, right?
We'll just keep it going. That's how we do. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me speak with you.
Thanks, my friend. A lot of people don't know you at all. So I thought, you know, just go with what feels to you the best introduction. I'm gonna say something before. Jason, like I said, is a brother from another mother, because he's an amazing individual. He's written actually one book so far, and the second is coming on December 11th. One book is called Ignite Happiness, and there's another one that's going to be Ignite Inner Spirit, and which I will also be featured, so we're going to share that together.
That's right.
You've got such an amazing story of resilience. That's why it's so powerful, and also tons and tons of life lessons that I can't wait to see, and let's see what's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be new things that I'm learning. We always learn.
We're constantly learning.
Who is Jason Flores, man?
Wow, such a great question. So who is Jason Flores? I love that because this is the Jason that you're gonna see and you'll get in the moment. This is all me. It's been quite the journey thus far. You know, growing up from Chicago, Illinois, Midwesterner at heart. You know, going through Catholic school all my life, having loving parents and family. It's been beautiful. And, you know, just, you know, going through and loving my career in technology and going through all of that. And, you know, little did I know how much life experience, Francis, would teach me. And as it also pertains a lot to resilience. Mm-hmm. You know, as I just started to, you know, really climb through the ranks in my career and be able just to work hard and follow my passion in technology and get a great paycheck, and I'm like, this is it. Like, this is life, man. This is exactly where I need to be, following it, making it happen. And I'm like, I'm just gonna keep it going. I don't need more. This is it. I'm just gonna keep going. And lo and behold, of course, as life has it, it's always not straightforward. You know, there's always twists, turns, and we can all attest to it. Mine came very suddenly for me, and for Jason Flores, it was that normal life that turned upside down instantly in 2016.
Yeah, and I know you call it your rebirth day. We'll come back to that. So, I mean, I'd love to know, of course, what happened that day, and then if you can explain us before this thing, and that's nobody knows yet, but you know, how can you describe Jason Flores before what we're gonna tell the viewers what happened to you?
Yeah, I was so focused on my career, wanting just to be able to make a mark on technology and just follow the money, and it was all about following that. I wasn't the person that I am today, and where my heart is. It was in a very different place for Jason, and Jason was following something that was more so what society wanted. And I never realized it. I was more living the unconscious life, if you so will.
Interesting.
And it took time and some events to happen to be more awakened, and to be awakened to the important things in life. And I never realized until then what are those important things. And I'd love to get into some of those things with you too as well in our conversation.
Yeah, well, so what happened? So you were, like, I believe it was in December. It was a kind of a very important day for you.
Yeah, it was 2016, so I was literally just at the height of my career. I was working at Amazon actually at the time, and so, you know, I was blessed to have that. Like I said, I thought I had made it to the top. I'm like, this is it. I'm making great money. I've got a great place. I've got a great car. What more did I ever need? I'm like, this is it. I'm living the life. And I got my greatest gift ever in 2016. And, you know, I was in Iceland. I was there on a great trip. Since you know as much as I do, I love vacationing and I love traveling. I love seeing the world. I love being able to be immersed in the cultures. And so in Iceland, I was there in 2016, and you know, I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and we were looking at these beautiful glaciers. It was a really, 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 really awesome trip. Went to sleep at that night, and I was just tired. You know, I did a lot of hiking, did a lot of moving around, adventuring, right? And it was probably in the middle of the night, probably in the early morning hours, like probably 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd say. And I just got a rude awakening with a splitting headache. You know, and I'm like, man, what's that? I never get really a headache. So I'm like, I sat up, I'm like, maybe I just need to get some water. So I went and I got some water, but that really wasn't doing the trick. And so I sat back down and, you know, I'm like, man, I don't know what this could be. I'm like, maybe I need to just go to the bathroom. And I went to get up and I couldn't move anymore. And so my body became instantly just, immobile.
So you couldn't move at all, like you just couldn't, like you could speak, or were you able to speak at that time?
I was able to still speak, because I remember I was like, yeah, maybe I just need to get water, and then the first to go was the motion.
Okay.
So I started to notice that my body would not react to my mind saying, get up and go. It just wouldn't move. It was just almost instantaneously. It was just almost like I was glued to the bed. I was glued to sitting there.
And how did you feel at that time? I mean, how do you remember exactly how you felt? Like,
yeah,
was that kind of scary, or that's okay? It's just gonna change,
Yeah, no. The emotions that started to go through was one of like, I started to feel definitely fearful, scared. Really because of the unknown. I was like, I don't know what this is. Then a part of me started to think, sort of just like as you started to mention, is like, oh, maybe this is just temporary. I just need to like shake it off and I'll be good. But there was no shaking it off. I was like, man, I'm like, it's actually getting worse. And my head is pounding, even throbbing even more. Thankfully, when, so she'd called paramedics, and the paramedics had came, and by the time they had come, I was completely immobile. I could not move anything. And the only thing I had was I could just see shadows moving. And I could see shadows moving, and I felt my body being lifted and moved into what can I assume is a stretcher to go inside of an ambulance. And then I don't know the time lapse from there to the hospital, but in the hospital, I remember, these white and green flashes of, images just passing me. And that's when I started to go in and out of consciousness. And so I remember, feeling that fear, feeling that really just the unknown. And then there was something sudden that overcame me, and I was just laying there, and it was almost like I'm in this state of panic mode. But then all of a sudden, in the midst of all of that, I felt calm. I had felt this calmness come over me, and it was almost like I took this deep breath and sighed, and it was just, and in that moment, I just sort of, my body and everything just relaxed. And I went into these flashes and these visions, and it was these visions of me as a child. And I used to always ride my bike, and I would always ride around my neighborhood with all of my friends, and it was one of my favorite past childhood times. It was just going on adventures on a bicycle. So simple, right? But it's funny that in that moment, that's what was replaying in my head like a reel. And then I saw my family and my friends and my loved ones and those close to me, and it was almost like a highlight reel that was just playing. And it was so realistic feeling. It was almost, they were right next to me. And then all of a sudden, it was then at that point, after that had played, it was just a very full release, and then everything just went blank. And at that moment, I thought, I'm grateful for whatever's happening to me at this time. If this is the end of my time, and this is whatever has happened to me, and this was it, and my show curtain had ended and it dropped, then you know what? I've lived a pretty amazing life. At that time, I was 31 years old. 31.
And while you were seeing all these things at the hospital, were you able to communicate at all, or was it just like flashes and then everything that you just mentioned, the real? And
the only thing that I could communicate, that I could actually remember, is I could only use like 1 or 2 words because I could barely get anything out. So I would just yell things that I could at least somewhat make out. I would say lights, door, things like that are the only things I could actually get out. And I don't know if they were actually coming out of my mouth, but it was, I remember thinking that at least, and trying to speak at least that, so that at least knew that I was somewhat aware or somewhat lucid. But it was still challenging. It was still challenging. I don't know what's actually the reality of it or not, right?
So this thing happened, and then all of a sudden, then like it goes all black, I'm assuming, and then what? Like, what happened after?
Yeah, it went all black, and from then, like, this is all paraphrased now from my family that was there. And so I'd gone into, I guess, immediate surgery. So what I had was something known as an AVM, arterial venous malformation. It's very, very rare. You know, it statistically speaking, it happens, you know, out of 10, it happens out of 100. Out of 100,000, it happens to 10.
10 people in 100,000 people.
Yes. So it's and on top of that, so that's known as the arterial venous malformation, the AVM itself. Half of those then out of that statistic actually rupture. And in my case, what ended up happening is, out of all the millions of blood vessels in the brain, one had a weak wall and then ended up rupturing. And when it ruptured, it paralyzed my entire right side instantly.
And that's what you woke up with.
And that's what I woke up with, that I was not aware to.
And then of those, just to think in terms of how rare it is that for the people that not only like have a weak wall and then it starts to bleed, for the ones that it starts to bleed, is there a high chance of dying? I mean, what's that?
Absolutely. So there's actually 50% of those that bleed actually have either are fatal, and then the other half have impairments, severe impairments. In my case, I'm thankful to not have landed on the other side of that equation, but I landed on the side of where I just have to relearn how to use the right side of my body.
So yeah, because what you might not realize, I mean, that the first time I met this guy, you would never even know. Like, I mean, first of all, look at his energy and everything, but the way he walks and everything, now you would have to pay attention to realize that. So that's this side, right?
That's this side. Yeah. That's it. So I mean, you know, I'll still move it around. You know, it's I can still at least move some big movements, but you know, I can still move my fingers, but you know, it's still very, very difficult. I can only do pick up some small things with this, but
and it's a huge improvement of what you woke up to. Wow, interesting. So you didn't know what to expect. Like you said, you know, you break your leg, you pretty much expect when that's going to happen, but then again, like, you just realize you're paralyzed, and are you told that's going to be forever? I mean, where are you? Are you frustrated? Are you grateful in a certain way? Because, you know, at the end of the day, what's remarkable is that you could have been on the mountain, you could have been in the plane, and I'm assuming if that happens, the mountain where you were in was hours ago from a closest hospital, and you were just in transit to go to the airport, and happening in the plane would have been a different story. So are you already in that space of gratitude, or more in the space of frustration, despair? I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic. So, and that's why it's so great, you know, as I was mentioning in the beginning, to see my journey and how far I've come from that place and how I was to where I am today. Because in that time, I had zero gratitude. I felt like it was all frustration. It was the knee-jerk reaction of just saying the feeling that I had in the moment, which was anger. I was like, why did this happen to me? What do you mean you don't know that you can't tell me I'm gonna be good in 6 months or a year? You can't even say a year? How about a year? A year will be good, right? So you're gonna tell me a year is good. So I can't understand why you can't tell me a year is good, so you're gonna tell me it's good. And like, I'm literally like, oh, we can't tell you that. And I'm like, no, you gotta tell me this. So give me a time. Give me when it is, right? Because I'm very driven by that, right?
And so when you say you're going to be good, you're thinking you're going to walk? Like,
yes,
I'm going to walk.
I'm going to walk. I'm going to be able to be fully recovered. Like, everything heals, right? Isn't in my mind. I'm like, okay, everything's going to be good. So just tell me when. I will just, you know,
oil change
and I'll be
that's
good.
it.
Exactly, right? Because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, just tell me what that is, and I'll do it. Because that's the formula I've always ran in my mind ever since I was younger. it's always running this formula of like, you need me to do this, I need to do X plus Y to get to Z. Great, fantastic. Then I'm gonna do X so I can get Y, and then here's gonna be Z. Like, it's a familiar formula. I'm like, okay, let's go. But when this formula that I'm running and I'm sitting here saying that, okay, so what are my X and what's my Y? You don't know. You can't tell me, and you're saying, and I'm getting frustrated because then how am I going to get to my Z? How am I going to get to where that equation is? And I can't run the equation. So that's what I know. So why can't I run the equation? Give me what I need.
And not only that, even if it's, let's say, an X, you're not even starting with the same parameters of an X, meaning like you have to start to learn simple things again that were learned for all of us. We know how to calculate, we know how to speak, we know how to do all of these things. So for you had to relearn arithmetics or something. I think you said
everything. So at this point, right? Because I really couldn't do anything, right? At the very beginning, I couldn't add 2 plus 2, right? I could barely remember what my middle name was. I remember that my mom would say that, they'd ask me that, and I would be like, I don't remember, or I don't know in the very beginning. But as time started to go by and my brain swelling started to come down a little bit, I could start to at least remember some key things, right? So I can remember like, okay, that's my mom, that's my dad. This is like, okay, so I'm in Iceland still. Okay, I do remember I took a trip. Okay, so like some of the things started to come back, but it's like I couldn't. The damage that was also done to the brain, it was hard for me to do deductive reasoning. And so it's hard for me to really start to piece things together. So if I take this plus this and bring it together, I couldn't compute that. And so that's something that I had to work through, right? And so it's like, okay, so how do I it would almost like, it's like, oh, the familiar, X plus Y to Z, okay, great. But I'm like, I don't even know what is an X. Wait, what is a Y? Wait, what is it? What is that? And so it's learning all that again. And so that was what I did in the hospital. So I did all these books to what you were saying. So I had my mom look and say, hey, can you give me these books? What can I read? Can I do a crossword? So I remember sitting there doing word search, crossword puzzles, whatever you can imagine. And that's all I'm doing to try and jog my memory to say, hey, like, can you start to reason? Can you start to remember some logic? Can you start to remember some things? And it was over and over and over again. It felt like a first grader all over again.
And that was so how long did you stay at the hospital?
So it was about a month there in Iceland, in the hospital.
So that was just before, that was in December, and then you spend the whole Christmas, New Year, your parents are there.
Yeah, so actually I came back on the day before New Year's. I came back to the United States because my mom really wanted to spend New Year's as a new year back in the United States, and I was in Seattle at the time when I was there at Amazon, and so that's when we went back to Seattle, and I spent another month and a half there in Seattle in the hospital to do rehab. So at this point I couldn't go home. I remember asking many times about going home. They took me straight from the airport, and the entire journey home from Iceland to Seattle is a whole nother debacle of a situation.
Yeah, because you couldn't go by yourself to the toilet or...
Yeah, I couldn't go to the restroom on my own, and so it's an 8-hour flight, right? And they had to use something like a video game system to get me onto the plane, like using a joystick. They put me into this contraption, which they used to put like food and a lot of different other goods to put onto the airplane. And I remember they had to raise me up on this platform, and we're moving around, and they're having to wheel me onto the plane first, and then they're having to carry me to the seat. And then once I get to the seat, they're like, okay, you're not going to be able to move from here. So I'm like, okay. So then I sat there, and I'm there for the whole time. And while I'm there, since I can't move, before I left the hospital there in Iceland, they equipped me and put in my leg here a leg bag for me to drain instead of being able to go to the bathroom. And so I'm sitting there on the plane, and it's an 8-hour, 9-hour flight, and it's getting full, and it's like, what do you do in this situation, right? And so it was very much so one of the most eye-opening and humbling experiences I think I've ever gone through in my life. Because my parents are, while I'm so blessed to have them at their age, they're definitely older, definitely a lot older in for their age, and they're going through, and they're on the floor of an airplane. It's nighttime, so the lights are all off, so everyone's sleeping, and my parents are on the floor of this airplane trying to release this leg bag because it's so full. And so it was a very humbling moment where I couldn't do a single thing but watch. And so to watch them struggle to do that at their age, and for me to not be able to do anything about it was very, very difficult. It's a very humbling experience.
You're like 75 to 80 years old, like your mom was?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, that for me, it broke my heart, because, I want to be the one to help them, But, I had to stick with it. I had to go with that and say, okay, I need to continue forward with this, and I'm going to allow this to happen, because I have no choice.
Was that, do you think, one of the darkest moment, or like close to the darkest moment of, when seeing that, like just feeling that you're, there's nothing you can do by yourself?
Exactly.
At least that simple thing.
At least that simple thing, yeah, absolutely. I felt this little, I felt like, I felt so insignificant. I felt like a burden. I felt like, I that point I was, it was starting to eat away at why would I want to continue to be here, right? I don't want to continue life. If this is what my life is going to be, and I have to watch my older parents have to take care of me, I don't want to sit back and witness that and watch that. It would almost feel like, it was something that would be heart-wrenching for me to watch that, if I had to watch that on a daily basis, or even if not even daily, but frequently. So it's something that was it was always going to be a reminder for me, because I'll never forget that moment of that and that scene, because it's so big to me to see and look back now from how far I've come from that.
So, when was there a moment you felt that you were very, very close to make a decision, either go, I live, I don't, or what's the darkest place?
Absolutely. No, so it continued. So along that same track, right? It's along that same thought, right? It's like it starts to build more and more and more as I'm watching this, and as I even return to Seattle, and I'm there in the hospital for another month and a half or so, and I'm struggling, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I have to learn how to get in and out of a wheelchair, to move around. I have to learn how to shower. I have to learn how to shave and bathe myself.
And all with one hand, and it's not the right hand where you're so strong.
Because I'm right-handed. I'm right-handed, so now I have to become left-handed instantaneously with everything that I'm doing, in all of my daily rituals and daily routines. And so it was very difficult to do that. And so that's a challenge that was hard to live through, and to also have to witness it with my parents have to take care of a lot of things that were obviously very easy for us that we do on a day-to-day basis, right? There were times where it was in the beginning it was hard for me to even just to bathe myself, and it's a moment where it just continued to build and build and build, and I felt it inside of just all of this anger and frustration, and not this almost hate in a way, of why would this happen to me, what good, why me out of someone else, or why would it, what is this what am I supposed to learn from all of this? And I was very much in a not good place. I mean, if you call it, it was a place of really pure just anger, and but I got more and more to a point where it's my breaking point, because that just continued to just grow more and more and more. And that breaking point was around the dinner table one night with my parents, and we're just having a conversation, and I'm just upset, and I'm just not talking, and I paused and I looked at him and I said, you know what, I don't want to continue this. I've had enough. I've gone through a lot. You've witnessed it. You have to help me through these things, and I'm so grateful and appreciative of that. But I don't want you or anyone else to be doing this for the rest of my life. And so, I honestly, I don't feel like I want to continue. I don't want to live. And for that, and telling my parents that, I know that was not one of my best moments. It was very difficult. And what I'll never forget is when they looked at me after I had said that, and in that moment, and it's what has changed. That moment is what has changed my life around. And that is, you know, I had said that, you know, they looked at me and they said, you know, Jason, we are so sorry that that we did this to you. You know, we love you, and we only want the best for you, and you know, it's our fault for taking that, and for doing that for you, doing that to you.
Wow.
And
why do you think this? Why did they say that?
So you know, they in that moment they said that because, you know, the way that they felt was that, you know, because it's an AVM, arterial venous malformation, it happens from birth, and so it's a congenital condition. So when they think that it's a congenital decision, since it's a congenital thing that has happened, that it happened at birth, so it was from them. It's their fault that they did that, because they're of course my parents, and they're the ones who gave, my mom was the one who gave birth to me. So they felt like that they wanted to own that for doing that to me. And it was something that I could not allow them to bear. For me to watch them and to hear them say that they wanted to bear that for me, it goes to show how much they care and they love me, and I'm blessed to have them as my parents. And you know, it was a moment that then I said, and I vowed in that moment that I can't, and I won't, and I choose not to let them down, and I choose to not let everyone else down either in life that I've met, that are currently in my life, and for those that I haven't met yet. This is what I live for, and I will fight. And so ever since that moment, every day, I continue to fight. I continue to fight. I continue to fight on behalf of everyone else that's also in my life, and again, anyone else who I've not met in my life, and anyone else who's gone through something, who's gone through pain, who I know has an inner power inside of them who can be resilient. That is why I am here today. That is why I am here to bring and share that message. And you know that I have lived it and continue to live it and will live it for every single day that I'm here in this life on earth.
Wow, that's beautiful. So would you say that this moment kind of gave you a boost of energy to just, like, how are you now? Like, you just decided, you vowed, you chose, I'm gonna do this, I'm doing it for my parents, I'm doing it for everyone, for the ones that I haven't met yet. So how's that?
It's just as emotional as the past story, man. For me, it's I share that emotion because I have so much love I want to give to others, man. It awakens me and my
For the people that don't know, there's something that I report. I'm emotional too, and there's take it. It's good to hear the word it.
Take it. Yeah, I mean, gotta keep that vibe. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. You take it.
You take it.
You take it.
So I look at it and taking it. I go and I want to, harness that feeling, that emotion, because I know what it is and I've been there, and I want to give that back and show that anything is possible to everyone and anyone in this world. When you feel like it's almost like I feel so many times where I've hit the wall. There's no reason to continue. There's no more reasons, listing out all reasons, and I'm like, there's none, but there's always a reason. And if I live my life for the good, the greater good of not only myself but for others, in service of others, that is a reason. That is a very, very big reason, and that's my whole new motto is I want to emanate and radiate love in everything and anything that I do in this world. And that's something that's big to me. It's big to me, and I know the power of it, and I know that is what will change people's lives, for themselves and for those around them.
Man, I'm blessed to be surrounded by you, because I'm inspired. I'm inspired by your story. It's not the first time I hear it, and you just make me emotional. So
I appreciate it, man. I also get emotional too, man. I mean, it's I get emotional because of I know that for a while I never wanted to really share the story, right? I thought it's just it's all it is I just decided to do something and decided just to continue living life. It seems so simple, but at the end of the day, I see the greater good in sharing that message and the story with the world, and I see that because it's one of the most unselfish things I could ever do, and it's a gift. It's really truly is a gift, and I think I've even told you at some point where if I had the chance to go back and change. I was
about to ask that, so yeah. If you had, go ahead, because I'm impressed the fact that you were saying a gift. So truly, if you were able to have that same opportunity to go back to where you're on the floor, and you have a choice, knowing what you went through, who you are now, and we'll get to that. And if you had that choice to say, yeah, it's either you go through this or you stay as who you were, which choice would you make?
Oh, absolutely. I would always choose this. And no hesitation at all, I would always choose this. I would not want to have, if I had that ability to go back to that life and be fully the way I was, and I can just go for a run like I always want and all of that other things, I would still choose this very way that I am, in this being of Jason Flores I am here. And in your original question of who is Jason Flores, in the beginning of all of this is me. I have embodied this is me. And there'd be no reason why I would want to change this, because this is what's meant to happen to me. Because I've learned so much more. I've met so many people, such as yourself, one of my dear brothers, and so many more that I would have never met if this all did not unfold the way that it did in my life. And so there would be no way that I would ever want to change any of that. I would want all this to happen to me, and I want all this to happen to my body, to everything. Every struggle has been worth it to me. Every single thing has been worth it, and I would do it all over again. And I'll continue to do it, is also a good way to put it. I'll continue to do it every day of the rest of whatever long my life will be, at least on this earth.
So for me, what I'm curious about is if you had like a column, data points, like I'm gonna use one of your
I love the data points.
So the being of the old Jason on one side, as opposed to the new Jason. If you had like a list of one word old Jason as opposed to this, what would be the list look like on one side and the list on the other side of who Jason was? Because it seems that you had pretty much everything. You seem to be happy, or at least you thought maybe. And now, who's Jason now? What's the difference?
The difference is, it was always in that case. As much as I don't want to realize it, but it's made me who I am today. It was about me.
So on
it's
the
about
old
me.
Jason was me Jason.
It's about me. And with all of this and what I've learned and all of my growth, and it's not just all about me. It's about all for me, and being me is everyone else. Because everything else that I'm emanating and everything else that's happening to others and me in life, it was all a reflection of me. And that's something that I didn't realize. Where all I'm doing is just saying, I'm just gonna focus the camera on just me. But what happens if I focus the camera on everything else that I'm touching, everything else that I'm passionate about, everything else that I have, something that's driving me? That's a reflection of me. And that's such a different point of view, because that's why I said that all I want to do is emanate, and be, and really just, embody like love, right? And because that is a reflection of me, and I can just be that, and I can be.
Which is one of the jokes during COVID time, and one of the guys, his answer was be.
Yeah,
be.
We
speak a lot of different insights on that, and I'm thinking for the people that are watching, and maybe some that are actually in a very difficult situation, and that they're living it right now, they're going through it, or they're not sure about going through the pain, and it could be different, right? It could be a relationship breakout, and so many different adversities and challenges and traumas. And so what would be your instinct and intuitive thoughts and advice you would give them while they're currently in there, right? Because you couldn't see that only after.
Right.
So from what you can remember of being in their shoes, what would you tell them based on what you know now?
I think one of the biggest things is, I think I even wrote a little bit about it too as well, is for me, I was always one to just not want to talk about it, or maybe just kind of avoid it a little bit. But it's understanding and literally embracing that ability to go through it.
So as sucky as it is right now, if
someone
wants to just say, but I have no reason, Jason. It's like, why do I go through what is going through? Like, I'm already freaking down right now.
Because the things that you will learn along the journey of going through, while it doesn't seem like it's even worth it today, will only open up doors and shine a light on clarity as to what is important to you and your why you should continue to live. Because you won't see it.
Unless you go through.
Correct. And so the only choice that you need, and at least for me, that I had to make, was to go through. And by going through, it's the only thing I knew. All you need is just that first step. Can't look all the way down through what's on the other side of the door, everything else. But the only thing you need is the first step, is to just take a step and go through. Like, okay, you don't know what's on the other side, but I will say that going through, as opposed to going around, or going to the side, or going any other way but through, there's a difference of how and what you would learn, because that's how I now understand it, because I've done both. I've gone around, I don't know how many times, and I've gone through.
and ultimately what creates that will of going through. Because to me, the image I have in my mind, it's almost like you're at the cliff. You know, like you said, you could want to just, maybe I'll climb down the stairs, I'll just go a little bit lower, I'm gonna wait, but at one point or the other, you know, you have to make a decision to, is it that, you know, you try so many different angles and then you realize it doesn't work, or like what creates that will to just jump?
There's inside of you, there gets to a point where you start to talk to courage, right? And so you know, and you get to a point where it's almost you surrender. And you know, one of the fond books that you and I both love around the surrender experiment is really that notion of to let things unfold the way that they're meant to unfold in life. If something is showing up and there's something that's being presented to you and there's something in front of you, it's where immediately before I would automatically ignore it, it's maybe let it in and understand it. That's the way I looked at it. And when I feel like I've hit an end and I'm like, what's the reason? Why would I move forward? Why would I want to do this? What would be, what's it worth? What am I going to get? All of this. If I surrender more to that notion, then what's meant to happen to me, I can allow that to now enter and allow the space for that.
I like that you bring that, because to me, what it speaks to me is, because I mean, the suffering is really the resistance to it, right? Like, I mean, I'm assuming that most of the suffering is when you don't want to jump or when you're resisting what is, and then, but there's nothing you can do. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you lost one side, so can you change that? You can't. So if you stay in that realm of I'm upset, frustrated, and everything, there must be a day where you're gonna have to say, well, I gotta have to go through. And then for some other people, and on top of it for you is beautiful declaration of the love of your parents and just saying, okay, I got a reason now. And for some that don't have a reason, well, now you can be helping them to find the reason, saying that going through, they'll discover something so beautiful about themselves and the truth and what matters, that they could also become a model for everyone else that are going through this, right?
100%. I mean, I live every single life with this lovely leg brace now, right? And I've come to love it. I've come to love this, you know. And it's you know, it's just like, oh, before I was like, man, this really sucks. I hate this damn thing. Like, you know, I've had like 3 of them already. They're painful. But it allows me, what it unleashes, it's the perspective that we all take on it, right? I can look at this, and you can look at a tree, you can look at whatever it is that's around you, and you could say, man, that thing is ugly, it looks like crap, looks like whatever, right? But then the next person next to you, or the other person next to you, could be like, it's so beautiful though, like look at the way that it's actually able to bend, and it's able to you know, be green and grow, right?
And give it shade, and the other one wants sun and whatnot, right?
And it's all about that perspective behind it. And for me, the perspective when I view this and I look at this now, I'm like, it's beautiful, it's great, right? Now, if I want to sit here and I want to choose that it looks like shit or it looks like crap, and and like I'm like, man, the damn arm, it won't move, and I'm like, like I can, well, like it won't move and whatever else. Like I can choose that if I really want to, because I consciously do that every single day. This is me every day, and so I look at it and I say, I give it so much love. I send it love. I send this love. I send everyone else love, and it's such a different way to live life, my friend. It's yeah. 100%.
Thank you for sharing everything you've shared so far, because I mean, there's a couple of things that I still want to talk about, because we can stay here for hours, and you'll get to discover this guy even more, because I know it's just the beginning for him to be on stage and influence the whole global planet within a documentary that I think you know what it looks like. The resilience element.
Of course.
So things that first of all, I know like you've talked about happiness, so I'd love to know anything that you've learned in the formula about happiness. Why not? Like, and by the way, if I say happiness, I know I have to say happiness.
Yeah, be careful.
This is yeah. The other thing is you know what we've done together, the high vibe report, and you know what was the reason behind this, and yeah, let's start with happiness. I mean, you know, you had the chance to write about this, and I know you've got a great formula. So what is it that you can share to people on the journey of finding it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it was definitely a great opportunity to able to write amongst all the other this co-authored book with so many other amazing individuals and talking about happiness. And so my point of view on it was really, I started touching a little bit about it earlier, but it's really about creating your own formula for what that is, right? Because at the end of the day, I talked about going through the door, because if you remain in the middle, and I know again that you and I've even spoke about this, is that if you remain in the middle, that's really hell. That's really not where you want to be. And so that's not happiness at all, being there in that place. But if you're able to choose and you're able to decide and go through the door, as I used that analogy earlier as we were speaking, if you just go through the door and not remain in that middle, then you will find happiness. Mm-hmm. Because then it's clear. I don't want this, I want this. I want this, and I don't want that, right? Like
meaning it provides you information, right? Because let's just pause on this, because you know,
absolutely.
you mentioned that
absolutely.
When you're not moving and when you're in the middle, that's hell.
Mm-hmm.
So that is true, right? Like that's really where the suffering is because now you're just in that loop of wondering, thinking, worrying about what it could look like, thinking about what you did in the past that might have not worked. So now you're kind of ruminating and clinging to things, and you know all of this. But that moment, that inertia is really where the suffering is.
That's it.
So what you're saying is just pick a lane, and you're saying at the end there's going to be happiness because at the least there's a feedback that helps you to kind of recalibrate.
Exactly. And one thing that I had, you know, kind of in addition to that, going, you know, alongside of that, is all about we can always choose the lens that we want to view something through. Right? And we just started talking about that with even the tree example, right? How you're looking at something, you can choose which stance that you want to take. I can look at it through a lens of saying that, wow, this is amazing. I can take a lens of positivity. I can take a lens of, you know, happiness. I can take a lens of something that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I could take a lens of this is the crappiest thing I've ever seen, or I could take a lens of that I hate it and I'm angry. Like, what lens do you want to choose? And so for me, in writing this in this book and the story behind that, you know, really highlighting how in my life, with now knowing of everything that has I've gone through, I've picked up a different lens for each one of those scenarios, and I've seen a lot of those. I've picked up that angry one, as I mentioned. I've picked up that end of life, like, what the hell am I doing and why do I want to live anymore? I've picked up the lens of, yeah, no, I'm gonna fight. I love my family and I love my friends, and there's more to life. So, but whether we know it or not, we're unconsciously doing that on a daily basis. And to start to bring consciousness to it is such an important key piece, because you can consciously select which lens you want to pick up at any time and any moment in your life. And that, to me, is such a beautiful reminder and gift that sometimes we need to hear. Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly what will unlock that door to happiness. And I used a lot of different ways of where and you know about this, I have this concept around the indirect. Mm-hmm. And the indirect is something that I'll continue to share with the world, and I'll even write a book about it, just the indirect. But it's everything else that you're on the outside, but you're not looking at it directly, but it's actually influencing that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whether it be actions or what you're doing, right? And so that's the thing, is that if I'm thinking always negatively, then it's going to influence indirectly negative things that's going to happen. And so the same goes for the positive side. So how can you incorporate more of an indirect way of doing things and incorporate them into life, right? And so that's where I start to talk more about that for the happiness piece. And that's where I kind of use that angle for understanding, how do you build your own formula? How do you kind of take these pieces of what you're doing in your life and how do you kind of add those together? And then there's also within that formula, I say, what do you need to also remove? Because it's not always about adding, right? And so I say, okay, there's an activity I put in there to, here are the things I want to add into my life and create my formula of happiness for your own self. And then there's also going to be things that you want to remove that will help you create your own formula for happiness. And so those are some of the key aspects and points of view that I wanted to at least be able to highlight for the book that you're mentioning.
Yeah, and removal could be big, right? I mean, we're more onto always adding, and usually indirectly by removing, you're adding more space to your life, you're adding more understanding, and because we're also busy looking at phones, looking at this, looking at the TV, and removing these distractions or removing the bad vibes or the bad influence, or then you gain so much more indirectly, right?
You gain so much more indirectly
and I think that for you this year has been because I've witnessed a lot of it. I mean, I don't think you would have expected in all domains what happened. We don't need to go in all domains, but just maybe for people to know, have you used? And I think if I do remember when you were submitting your happiness book, there's something pretty major that happened in your life. Was that like around that time? Like there was something ironic about you submitting your your happiness book. But then, tell us a little bit more if you want to share things that have happened in your life, because I think that I've seen that you've used what you've learned, and you continue to also learn new things.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So I'm trying to pare down exactly which moment that you're actually discussing because it could be about.
He's got these big eyes, right?
It could be about. A couple different subjects, but
on the professional side.
So on the professional side, so working through all of this is like I'm assuming you're probably going to the point of where it's the height of some of the business not going the way that it should be because of.
But I mean, they could be the business that we share together. So by the way, so Jason's the president and the president and COO of Resilience Element.
Yes.
And you it's up to you to choose about it, because to me, I think that people are going through a lot due to COVID, and there's a lot of things that they've lost. And if you want to share, you can definitely do that. And I think I think that you've been through so much that I see that even the person you were a year ago is completely different.
Oh, yeah, okay. So now I'm catching on as to.
Sorry, I'm trying not to be pointing in too much of a direction.
I had to compute the formula.
He needed more data points, and indirectly I was trying to put him in a situation. Put it.
No, exactly. So yeah, I think you're talking about kind of my career, especially when it's coming down to the travel industry, and such a large impact that was taken to the travel industry given the pandemic and everything that has unfolded the way that it is. But it's allowed some space. It's allowed some space to be coming from a place where that has kind of fallen more so and is given the COVID impact to that industry of the travel industry, being furloughed and having a few months where it's kind of like, okay, well, I need to figure and find something to do, but it's created this space and allowed me to be able to go and work on Resilience Element and unlock actually some other doors that I'm excited to continue to share with others as to what I'm up to next, because it's exciting. It's big.
Because I mean, just being furloughed, I mean, many of you can relate, I'm sure, and it's there's definitely, so now there's no revenue that's coming in, and and all of a sudden, you know, for many of us, and for people are going into debt, right? So now you're having a very cool life. Everything's provided, traveling around the world, and now you know who you were, even in that new person after the surgery and everything. Now it's completely kind of gone. Like there's a new territory. So now, how do you apply what you've learned? And you know, and we can talk about surrendering. And so, what do you do in that time? Because you know, you had to live in a new world now.
Yeah, to live in a new world. It's kind of like a. We talk about fresh slates many different times, and it's almost like this allowed me to pause, is maybe the word to use, and kind of reassess as to what is important to me in life and where I want to go. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we're too driven and we're just like go, and we're just gonna like just keep going and not stop or pause to kind of look and say, you know, as my brother would say, you know, what would really truly make more so my heart come alive.
Yeah, thanks to my godfather.
And so,
thank you, Johnny.
And so, he always is a big proponent of that, obviously from your godfather. And you know, it's also something that for me, I always look at it from the perspective of very similarly, right? And I think one of the key questions that we're always talking and asking is it coming from, you know, your heart or your mind, right? Mm-hmm. And that decision is always something that's top of mind as I go through everything, and I look and assess things now in life. It's very different than it was previously before, where it's like dollar signs equals like that's decision making process. Yeah. Now it's like, is it my heart or is it my mind? You know, right? It's very different. So here it's following, you know, what's my heart saying, and as most of, I know you know, and a lot of people know, as you can hear in what I'm saying, right, is that I'm very big on wanting to spread love, and I want to continue helping other people in this world, and that's always been something that I've always wanted to do, and that will, again, indirectly, also fuel and make other things and open other doors that I don't even see them yet today, but they will continue to still open, because that's exactly what's happening. There's all these doors that are opening in different avenues that I wasn't thinking of before, but now they're opening, and now they're allowing for all these different things into my life that not only now make me a better person, but now I can share that with the world.
Yeah, and I've witnessed a lot of the things from Jason. I mean, just the fact, as your friend, you know, there's a lot of things, and the way you surrendered to all these events to me really impressed me, and I was glad to take up some of those lessons and witness them, because you know, I know that there's situations that I think even a year ago, like, you know, just in the last month and a half, I think, you know, like windshield like gets broken, the battery that's gone on a car, so many different things that on top of everything else that
on top of everything else,
I'm surprised you kept your cool, you know.
I'm surprised I'm able to keep my cool about. And I'm surprised you're. I thought given he's always big and always giving me curveballs, so that's why I've been like sitting here trying to ponder and see which way he's trying to go. So that I'm always just like this. I thought he's gonna bring something up about Lala at some point in time, so I'm just like okay, or like bring another topic up. So I'm like, where is he going with this? Because you know, so I'm like, which angle? So you know,
and now we see him in action and just like dodging the ball. Or thinking there's gonna be a ball.
I mean, that's why I'm like, what is he trying to get at here? Is this which angle?
We've learned so much already. You know that. Actually, like talking about fun. So and the indirect. I know that now. You know exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
You know when.
Let's see.
But you know, we've done something in the beginning of COVID, and it was called HVR, High Vibe Report. So tell us a little bit, because you're the one that kind of said, hey, we got to do something about it, and you kind of indirectly put me into this project.
I did.
So what is it? What is it exactly?
It's wonderful, and it's beautiful. And if our viewers have not checked out our page, you'll have to go and check us out on our Facebook page, the High Vibe Reports. But it's a beautiful thing.
And while you do that, I just have an idea, because we're just gonna pause. Well, we're not really pausing. I'm just gonna do an edit. We're gonna insert some of the 2 or 3 moments that you prefer. And actually, I'm gonna ask you what are the 3 best moments, and we're gonna just put them so that they know what that is. If you had to think about the best 3 and explain the high vibe reports to help people to...
Yeah, and so to explain, I guess as you're going to insert this, but to explain, I would say the key here is really to be able to just make you laugh. Even if it's just, 10 seconds or a second, or crack a smile from a frown to just a quick little ha. Like, it's that's all that, when I was thinking about this, that's all I really wanted to do, because I turn on the TV, or I don't even have cable anymore, but I mean, I look at my phone and it's it's all this news that was all negative at the time, and this was at the end of February, early March, and it was kind of like bringing me down. And I'm a pretty upbeat person. I want to stay like on this high vibe, and I want to surround myself with people with that. And it's difficult, man. It's difficult when we're going through these times. And so I'm like, you know what? If there's not any content out there, then I feel like we need to create this content. I'm like, let's just do something. I'm always vibing. I'm like, you're upbeat too. So I'm like, hey man, we're gonna start some videos. We're just gonna make it quick. We're just gonna act funny. I said, let's create some characters really quick. I'm like, you're French Canadian, so you're gonna be you're just gonna be something to do with that. And let's make some fun names up. And then lo and behold, you're looking at Mr. Fashionable French here. That's right here himself in the flesh. And then
Filipino.
Yeah, and then I just was like, all right, well, what am I gonna be? I'm like, I have no idea, but I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll be the flashy Filipino.
So just before, so quick thing here is your best moment. Can you impersonate, Filipino? It's a flashy Filipino. No, it's
wow. You gotta get practicing for it.
So if you had to do these 3 moments, and we'll watch it after, because we'll see how your memory is going. Like, I'm sure it's going to be exactly how it was. 3 best moments or expression that you remember from the
expression. It's going to be challenging.
You can speak like him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I love being able to go in and out of it, just because I can just be here, and I can be, so you're going to look at the weather today. It's beautiful. It's sunny. And so it's great to go like in and out of that. But one of the best moments, is really as you're kind of talking through, there was a shortage of, I'm sure you all remember, some of that important stuff called toilet paper. And there's definitely something where you'll see the taboo, which is something in the Philippines that's used to clean yourself.
It in a moment. We're gonna do that. Yeah.
To clean yourself if you don't have toilet paper.
Okay.
And so one of the best things is scenes that you're referring to is you take it or you also put it in a cup and you also
so that was one. That was a taboo, which was kind of a classic for you, and 2 more. Like what comes to mind?
So take it is definitely a big one for taboo.
You think about
there's also one that there was also dating. Dating was very difficult in the COVID times, and so this was a very interesting moment here. So just trying to figure out and navigate how best to do so.
What's an expression that came out of that one?
And so there's it's great. It's wonderful.
The winter time.
It's wonderful. There's a lot. There's there's it's very special in the winter time, or there's also it's the boom boom in the room. That was that was born.
That was a good one.
That was.
And then there's a number 3. I'm sure something you say very often that even some other people around us are saying now.
There's a lot. So the put it in a cup, or which
we're at number 3 now.
Number 3 now. Yeah.
So it's with W.
So then, we do. let's.
I mean, that was my favorite.
So that's still his favorite. That is his favorite. Okay, so his favorite is so it starts with a W, and it's a great expression. You say it all the time, and it's actually been a lot of the HVR, the high vibe videos that you'll see. And it's wow, and so
every time it's a surprise. I don't know if you notice his eyes is always like kind of
because you can just surprise someone, and if you need to as our brother Chris Doors or CD would say, you need to get a vibe up. If you need to do something quickly and you just really want to get people around you going, just wow, you just hit them with a wow, and you're good to go. And it's
so we'll insert that. I mean it's gonna be funny to just see those little moments and put them side by side and just see the good moments. We've definitely had some good laughs. That's for sure.
Some really good laughs. It's really beautiful.
And there's a philosophy I think you mentioned or we talked about, like, because how would you describe the way we did the videos?
Oh yeah. So the way that we did the videos, and I think we're coining the phrase with at least for our videos, is it was the one take wonder, and literally one of the things that I told him that I wanted was I think one of the big benefits of us doing that is that you're always going to get us, and our audience is always going to get us at our best, and this is just us
in the raw, as you would
in
say.
the raw, and being in the raw, because one of the key things is that sometimes humor is born out of just letting life go and living it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing that we're always great at doing is here we just turn the camera on, and by turning just the camera on and it's on, and you just go. And
I think it kind of almost came by accident because at first I remember, and indirectly you became so polished, and you threw me so many curved balls, and talking about something that in life when you start. And that indirectly now it brings way more confidence on camera, brings a lot more fun. And in the beginning we try to predict and have all the scenes, and it became a little bit not that fun. And then we just decided at one point to let it roll.
Just let it roll.
And by letting it roll, it just became what we did all the time.
It became just natural, right? And I think that's what our audience wants to see. Just and I think really what the world should see is just all of it just naturally, right? And how we are. So that's exactly how we are.
Yeah, and aside just on that, what would you say is there any maybe gems or insights that you can provide based on that experience, and that could be a life lesson as to how it unfolded? Or
it's just like there's no need to force things or to mask things or make things appear that they're actually not, right? I think that's a really big lesson that we can share with all of our viewership around that, because I think that that's a key thing to be able to share that piece of it, because many times, at least even for me before, I would be too caught up in being worried how I look, my image. What am I looking like? I need to look at my best. My collar is up and I'm like, oh crap, or like, it's just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, this is like the worst looking thing, like, oh my gosh, like, why am I doing this? Like, I should be uncomfortable right now. I should really be like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Like, but it doesn't matter, right? Because all it is I'm creating that. So for me, it's just, that's why this is a great way for me to also learn more and more of how to just be more of myself around in any situation. And I think that's something that we can all grow and learn from. And so the hypothesis, if you so will, is that by us being able to put these videos out there and share that with the audiences, is that they can live their lives more in that state of not having to feel like they're having to pretend to be someone else, but they can live life and be okay with just being. And I think that's the beautiful message that's why I am so passionate about it, and I continue sharing that with the world. And I'm so glad that we still do those things to be able to show the world that, because that is a message of just us being. Because so many people will always ask us, like, what are you doing? Or like, what are you guys up to? Or like, I don't understand what all these videos are. Or the flip side of that is, oh my gosh, you made me laugh. Oh, please don't stop doing these videos. Oh, please continue doing this, because it makes me happy after a long day, or whatever it is, right? And for that, if that does that for just one person, then it's always worth it. And I think you and I have even had times where, you know, it gets to the best of us and we're like, man, I'm tired, dude. I don't know if I want to do this right now. I don't know if I want to film this. I don't know if I want to shoot an HVR video. I don't know if it's just going to take so much time. But then it's a very quick reflection to sit back for a minute and say, you know what, we're not doing it for us. We're doing it for everyone else who's there. And that goes back again to that same message that I was talking about earlier of just saying, you know what, we're just staying unselfish and we're doing it for everyone else, you know, because that is really where that lies in terms of the pure gold and the value.
And I have to say that, you know, for those moments when we were not so sure, and we still decided to do it not for us but for others, and we just had some of those big beautiful moments of laughing, and it actually raised our vibes. I mean, indirectly it was beautiful. We wanted to give that, and it was really beautiful moments on a weekly basis where we knew we would have a blast. And you know, you were absolutely crazy good at throwing balls and just switching it up, and it was beautiful. It's just yeah, so thank you, man, for having this idea, and then we will continue. We will continue to see you guys.
Continue.
Yeah. So, man, you know, we like I said, there's so many much more things that I'd like to know from you. So, what can we expect? And that's going to be the way we can wrap up. And if there's anything that comes to your mind as to you really wanted to deliver this message, what can we expect from you? And where do you want to give more in this beautiful life?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to continue down this journey of building our wonderful business of Resilience Element. You know, I think you've brought it to a really beautiful place and have done so much work into it, and it's amazing already for what it is, and we're only going to make it that much better to reach to so many more people around this world. So I'm excited for that as that being next. As well as, you know, also working through and touching more people within the AVM community. And so the arterial venous malformation happened to me, and you know, that's one of my passions too, is to continue to give back, touch other lives, and find different ways. And you know, and kind of speaking with you and brainstorming ideas, I'm glad this was an idea that came up, and it's something that you know, I want to continue. And I'm so blessed to be able to work with the Aneurysm and AVM Foundation, so the TAAF community, and you know, I'm so thankful to be able to give back and do that, and be able to write for them, and you know, for the next few months here, you know, and do some articles for them and for the viewers, and be able to you know, really touch other people's lives. So I'm excited to do more of that. I'll be actually seeing Chris Doris, so Chris Doris is going to be also next, so excited about that. So Mr. Chris Doris, and speaking with him, it's going to be beautiful too as well.
Or before, I don't know how fast you're going to be, Chris, so we'll see,
before,
like at any time.
One another, yeah. So I'm excited for that, and then of course you already mentioned the book coming up, and then you know, I'll be looking to see what else I can do. And I think one of the big things for me is around my own self, my own story around this, wanting to touch some lives of, you know, how can I help, you know, with the tools and the techniques that I used for my own self, of how I was able just to be able to kind of fight back and be able to, you know, kind of put myself in a place of wanting to continue. So, you know, kind of building out what about Face Yourself that I'm kind of creating, which is my story around this, and kind of the daily trials and tribulations that I go through of, well, this is me today of you know, trying to shave, and it's not pretty and it's hard to do, or here's my just trying to tie a shoelace, and that does not look like fun either. But you know, this is what I do because it's, as you also mentioned, it's in, you know, it's just how I'm living my life. It's just me in the raw, and it's not me looking all glamorous and pretty and having to do this and that and whatever else. It's just me, and it's okay. And that's the thing, is that you always laugh sometimes, because I was like, I think actually we have an HVR number. I'm just like, it's okay. So, you know, it's just, you know, you go with that, right? And I think for me, I want to give that message more out to all of you and everyone out there, because it is okay. It's okay just to let things happen, and sometimes they're not pretty, and it's going to be okay.
Man, it was such an amazing opportunity for me to vibe down and up with you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and you know, if there's one word to me that describes you, is the one actually that you said it so many times, and I don't know how I have to say it. I think we can say wow, and we can say wow for this guy, because he's gonna vibe up any audience and you know, just inspire them, because he's lived through so many different things. I call him he's been called a humble coach. I will call him the humble warrior, definitely, because, you know, if you're looking for someone that has lived through so many different things and can help you and see different angles, that's Jason Flores. And I'm honored to be your brother. I love your brother.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Appreciative.
Thank you guys for watching, and can't wait to see you
Thank you.
more in 2021.
Yeah.
Woo! Wow!